There's 2 to 3 people recently that I know of that's either had to get an extra job or they have to shut down their business.
You can find yourself in the statistic of failing your business during a recession, during a bad economy. You could also just set your business up to survive, right? But if you're only in survival mode, how much longer can you actually do that for? What is up, everybody? Welcome to the Entrepreneur Experience Podcast. I am Coach Joe with Action Coach South Kansas City, and we have
Jared Taylor here. Some call me JT with JT Visuals without the I because there's more than meets the eye and it's video content.
Oh, awesome video content, by the way. Actually, this podcast is sponsored by JT Visuals. That's your camera over there, and here's our editor. Oh, sometimes your team edits it. But you do a fantastic job.
Oh,
so
thank you
for helping out our local economy, and you do some coaching too, which is awesome.
Yeah, if you want content coaching, that's awesome.
Yep.
And also sponsored by Action Coach South Kansas City.
Let's go.
Together, a coaching business and a video content business colliding creates the entrepreneur experience.
That's right, baby. Hey, I got a really thought-provoking question for you. And for you too, the audience. What the hell is going on with the world today, right? Like, we have this election coming up. I don't even care what side you're on. It's just making everything weird. We have recession, inflation, unemployment, all this kind of stuff. And I'm trying to just
grocery prices. That's what I care about.
Dude, crazy. I go grocery shopping, and I've been buying my own groceries since I was 14, 15, by the way, because I was on my own. So I'm remembering how much I spent then versus now. I'm like, how does this add up? But anyways, the reason why I asked this question on an entrepreneur podcast is because that is a question a lot of entrepreneurs are asking right now.
Yeah.
You might be in so many different industries. Cost of materials are going up. Cost of wages are going up, let alone trying to find good people to work for you because unemployment's high and everybody seems to be picky about where they want to work.
Yeah, because everyone wants to work with a purpose now. Which is good. It's cool. No one wants to just flip burgers.
It's good, but not always. You know what I mean? Because you can find purpose around why you're making money. But anyways, that's a subject for another podcast.
Yeah.
I'm bringing this up because we spoke right before this. This is a really crucial time for entrepreneurs. I mean, we're going to see lots of businesses go out of business. We're going to see a lot of businesses survive, and we're going to see a lot of businesses just freaking grow massively.
I hope that's me because
it will be
you. Like the I feel like I am really growing right now as a business, and when you're investing and when the stock's down is really the best time to buy.
Oh my gosh.
And that's the exact thing with like recession, right?
Absolutely.
So all the economy's down, it's hard. So if you're growing as a business during that time, wait till it comes back up.
Oh yeah. Well, I think
that makes me excited.
Like you brought it down to the most logical way of thinking about it. That's kind of what I was trying to get at, which is in these times, where does our mindset need to be shifting to in order for us to be the business owner that doesn't just survive, absolutely doesn't cave, but doesn't just survive, but you actually thrive. We've had so many periods in the history of the world and our economics and business where we had these large downturns in business where inflation's high, hard to hire people, businesses are going out, price of oil is up, and then we have these nice moments and then down and nice, right? Like, so right now, I mean, you tell me, I feel like we're kind of on the downturn when it comes to just how money is, which affects business in general, right?
Sometimes I think I need to be a little bit more real because sometimes I'm a little too optimistic to where I'll ignore those things because now that like we're talking about it, I'm like, wait, hold on. There's 2 to 3 people recently that I know of that's either had to get an extra job and they have a business, but they have to get an extra regular job just for consistency, or they have to shut down their business.
That's tough.
I saw that recently, in the last week.
That's unbelievable.
So.
Well, even when the economy is good, you know that lots of businesses actually just fail by nature. A lot of people don't know how to be entrepreneurs.
And some you could dissolve, right?
Yeah.
And then, but it's because there's a better option.
Right.
And we would still count that as a failed business, wouldn't we? Because it's a stat now, but
it's a stat.
What we don't know is that they moved to something better.
Yeah. Well, Forbes wrote this thing where it's like I think anywhere from 60 to low 70s actually fail. But I think they also take into consideration the fact of, if people dissolve a business to start another one, there's also that little factor. But that's not even that's still a small percentage of people doing that. But I just want to encourage everybody on the podcast today, about how to shift our mindset when these things happen. Because, you can find yourself in the statistic of failing your business during a recession, during a bad economy, during a presidential election cycle. You could also just set your business up to survive, right? But if you're only in survival mode, how much longer can you actually do that for? But for the ones that actually thrive in these economic downturns, there's definitely a shift that entrepreneur and that team has to make and buy into. And it starts with our mindset, right? The majority of people have always heard buy low, sell high when it comes to stocks or real estate. Yeah. But what do the majority of people actually do? Buy high, sell low, right? Because it's out of fear.
Yeah.
Let's take 2008 for an example. How old were you during 2008 when we had that great recession?
I'm not good at math there. I'm 32 now, so.
32 now, so you were elementary probably? Or middle school?
Well, I was 9 for 9/11.
Okay.
So adding up.
Yeah, you were probably in high school.
High school.
Yeah. Well, I was freshly married, 2 years out of high school. And I just remember everything was crashing as far as price. And, my father-in-law invested in a lot of real estate right before all that happened. And when everything crashed, he either got foreclosed on a lot of them, and every house that had value had no more value. Right? It had negative value because he owed money.
Okay.
So it was really, really a hard time for investors that invested in real estate. Everybody knows you buy low, sell high, but everybody bought high and were forced to sell low or short sell or foreclose. Business has the same type of cycle, right? We have great times, and then we have times that are a little tougher, whether it's because of the economy, whether it's because we mismanaged our money. But what we think and do up here starts how we physically go out and make decisions.
If you're listening, he's gesturing to his head.
Oh, right. I'm gesturing to my head if you're listening. So I believe everything starts with mindset. Now, what have you learned with mindset? We've been coaching for a while.
Yeah.
We started off where your business looked completely different than it did today.
Yeah, this is a common thing that I've learned is like across all the things is good intentions aren't far enough. And so with mindset, like I wanted to learn everything and be a learn it all, but now I want to be a learn and teach it all and learn and do it all kind of thing. Like you got to take action for it.
Yep.
And even planning for it isn't enough because I can make a default calendar and not follow it.
Sure.
So I did the thing, but then didn't do the thing.
Didn't act upon it. Yeah.
So, but for like mindset, one of the biggest things is that point of power thing that you show a lot. It's really, really powerful. You could even take it to your personal house. You can really read people better, not just your mindset, but you can kind of see people and have compassion for them because of it, or choose to not work with them because of it, which the whole thing, the point of power, there's a line in the middle.
Right.
And then if you're below the point of power, you're always
blaming.
You're always blaming.
Excuses, denial.
Come up with excuses and denial. I always think bed. Bed. You're stuck in bed.
Yeah. Or you could be over the point of power, and that's
and that's
ownership.
An or.
Yeah.
OAR, where you're
ownership,
going places.
Accountability, responsibility.
Yep. So I see that based on reaction to, and then it's also like proactive versus reactive. Like how are you going to be? Are you going to let things happen to you, or are you going to be proactive? And that's a character thing too when it comes to like film writing. And so I look at that like Rogue One wasn't one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Sorry guys. I thought it was well done, but it wasn't. It was hard for me to relate at all to the character, the main character, because it was a passive character. And things were happening to that character, and it was all about seeing how that character reacts was the whole movie. versus I like the more proactive. So when Darth Vader showed up, I found myself cheering for Darth Vader in that movie because Darth Vader wants something, he's going for it.
Yeah.
That's the proactive.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the same with our mindset and actions, you know?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, I see where you're getting at that. And I think it just comes down to this. Like, once you know the above and below the point of power scale, you know, you have to make a decision. Are you going to be above the point of power, which is I'll always take accountability, ownership, accountability, and responsibility, or I'm going to choose to just blame everybody, make excuses, be in denial about what's going on. The first suggestion I would make is you choose one or the other. If you're going to be below the point of power, we already know the fate, right? You're eventually going to lose your business or you're going to survive. And when you survive and everybody's doing better than you that did more than survive, then you blame them because, oh, they had money. Oh, they had this. Oh, they had that. Or you could just be like, look, I am where I am because of decisions I've made and also because there's other areas outside of me that I cannot control, like an economy that's caused by a war or something like that, right? Oil prices rising. Okay, cool. What are you going to do about it? And I think the first decision you have to make is that you're not going to lose. I'm just not going to lose this game. I'm not going to lose my business. I'm not going to lose my house. I'm not going to, you know.
Yeah.
I believe wholeheartedly, and I know this is debatable with some people, you have to just draw a line in the sand and say, I am not going to lose. I'm going to win. I am not in business to lose. I did not get married to get a divorce. I did not have kids just to hate them, right?
Yeah.
Like it's easy for us to make those decisions with what I just said because it's like it's very obvious. But what about business? If business is that financial vehicle that will provide that lifestyle and that dream and those experiences you want, how much more do you have to be committed to that than you are with everything else you're committed to? You know?
So can we double tap on that?
Sure, double tap.
Let's elaborate if there's any specifics. But so what about the kind of person that is just stubborn and they want to be stubborn in a good way and say, I'm not going down. But in reality, is there ever a time when they should let go?
I mean, I think if you have a stupid idea, it's just, I don't know. I'm thinking of you have a business that's working already. But then the economy is taking a downturn. Now, if it is a dying thing, like let's say you're working off of 1970s technology and you're trying to sell that in today's world, right? And nobody's buying it for good reason because you haven't upgraded with the times. I don't think it's like go down with the ship. If you're going down with that ship, then I think that's a really stupid thing. However, if you have the attitude of I'm not letting this thing fail, then start upgrading your stuff that you're selling or get into an industry that's actually sellable if you're a salesperson. You know what I mean? Create a product that's like changing with, make the right pivot. For example, during COVID, restaurants, I feel so horrible for them because they could not, you know, if they resisted the shutdowns in some states, they were kicked out. So what did they have to do? They had to pivot. They had to pivot to online orders. They had to pivot to outside eating. They had to pivot to deliveries. And yeah, it was super, super hard. It was super hard. And I know
and prices were going up too.
Prices were going up. But, you know, if they wanted to be stubborn about it, they could have just said, oh, this is my way out, right? I know restaurant industries are not a sexy industry. A lot of people in there hate doing what they're doing. And I know it because I used to run restaurants. But the ones who did not accept failure were like, this really sucks, but I'm going to have to deliver. I'm going to have to put outside eating. I'm going to have to figure out, you know, creative ways to get people to... There was a restaurant in San Diego.
Or hire someone to help you figure that out, you know?
Exactly.
Because maybe you are hitting a wall.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't know because you don't know.
Well, there was a restaurant in San Diego. I forgot the name. Geniuses. They said, look, we have high-end food. Nobody can come here to eat. And we're not set up for outside eating. Well, they did deliveries, but what they also did was they created a program where it's like, hey, every night at 7 o'clock, the chef is going to come and teach you how to make a meal. All you have to do is buy these grocery lists, buy exactly what it is. So they would go out and buy it, and at 7 o'clock, he was alive, and he would cut and just show people what to do.
That's
and
cool.
People made their gourmet meal at home.
Wow.
People paid them to do that because people were also stuck at home. Also wanting to do things that were creative other than just staying home, sitting on your couch, getting fat, getting pivot. Just, you know, getting, what is it called? anxious at home.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Depression.
Yeah.
So
it comes like sadly, like it's it's a truth that I've found.
Yeah.
Is the more I stay in and isolated, the more I get depressed or anxious about things. Like the more I take phone calls and dial phone calls,
And
the
do
easier
something.
it is to take phone calls. Whereas before, it's like, man, all these scammers I don't want to answer. And then if they're not in my caller ID, and then like some people get highly anxious just by hearing the phone ring.
Yeah.
And that was actually me for a little bit. And
Actually,
then someone's like, you need to start tapping. I was like, I don't want to do that weird thing.
Yeah.
Whatever. I'll just get over it. And I actually did kind of willpower my way to getting over it.
Yeah. Well, one thing I did, because I'm that person who I don't want to miss out on anything. So if that phone rings, I want to look at it. So I have a rule when I go home for 2 hours. When I go home, that phone, we have like a community basket where all our phones go over there.
Oh.
So if you're a client of mine and you try to call me between the hours of 5:30 and 8 o'clock Central Time, you're probably not going to get an answer from me.
Nice. I think that's good.
And you're probably going to have to wait till the next day, because from there I'm only going to pick and choose the text that I'm going to respond to.
Because if you're a client of Coach Joe, then you would want him to be healthy so that you get healthy results as well.
Yeah. Also, I'm trying to set the example, because you don't want your business to take over your life. You don't.
Yeah.
You don't. So so mindset is a key component to like making that mental shift and being successful in these times. Another thing too that I believe you need to do as an entrepreneur during these down economic turns is know why you're doing what you're doing.
Oh, yes.
And understand the value that you bring to your clients. It's really easy when business is great and people are buying. And sometimes we forget the foundation, the fundamentals of why we're doing what we're doing. And you want to actually be proactive about that even when times are good, to solidify your foundation so that you don't have to be reactive when things are bad. But let's just say it takes you by surprise. We have a horrible market, high inflation, all this stuff. You got to know why you're doing what you're doing. You have to know the value of what you're bringing to your client. And you have to be able to articulate that and sell it, because people still have budgets. Trust me. Money is still flowing. People have budgets. They're just being more selective about what they pay for. And if you can come in there and provide a solution to their actual problem, you can still sell it for what you want. But if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, you're starting to become desperate and you're giving discounts all over the place.
Yeah.
That's where it can get dangerous. That's survival mode, by the way. That's survival mode.
What about marking up and then giving a discount and it's the real rate? That's just false marketing.
I feel like that's just cheating.
Yeah.
I feel like
people do that all the time.
I never give my prices up front, and I don't think you should either. Now, if you are in a service, like for example, I have a junk hauling business, and we have a price sheet for transparency, right? But we don't advertise everything that's inside
B2C.
of that price. It's B2C. But if you're like in my coaching or in your videography business, we're not talking about price up front. We're trying to figure out what problem you're going through that gives you the unction to reach out to us, because you have a need, and it's our job to find the true problem, because chances are our clients don't even know what the true problem is. Now, when it comes to home service like HVAC, plumbing, junk hauling, it's obvious. My AC went out. I need you now, or else we're going to burn to death in the Midwest, right? Like there's a huge problem. But even then you can go a little bit deeper, but it's almost cut and dry when it's like that, Junk hauling. Well, there's a property management company, and they just kicked out a bunch of hoarders, and they need to turn that apartment around in 10 days. So they're like, could you be here tomorrow?
Oh, is that what?
Yeah.
That's the gap there? That's what happens?
For property managements.
So that's your strategic partner for that?
Yeah. Property managements, realtors, things like that. Yeah.
You should sponsor one of our events.
We will. We will sponsor one of our events.
Or come walk in. We can introduce you to the... Yeah. Well, it's only the management team.
Yeah. But I have a salesperson we can send.
Okay.
I love business so much, I'll still stop. We
could do an introduction.
Yeah. So,
well, because sometimes actually we have so much at our dumpsters and everything. I actually found a TV there that still worked.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll separate the electronics from the actual trash, from the actual... We can actually take some stuff to consignment stores. We take things to Goodwills. help with the job. So that's that.
One man's junk's another man's treasure.
Yeah. As a matter of fact,
talk to Joe about his junk.
A matter of fact, yeah. I'm gonna bring. Okay, so we partnered up with the company that I'm coaching in San Diego, the Junk Medic San Diego. We've been coaching them for 3 years.
Okay.
They're gonna come to Kansas City within the next 6 months. I'm gonna put him on this podcast. He's a dynamic person, dude. I'm also gonna try to get him with a Cup of Joe with Coach Joe. Cup of Joe with Coach Joe is like an offshoot of the entrepreneur experience where I actually like interview some of my clients. And you have your own offshoot where you nerd out about like marketing, branding, technology, stuff like that.
Yeah, that one's coming.
Yeah.
I have the YouTube channel separate, so if you want to watch that, that's all about better content. It's a little more focused on YouTube, so it's not on a podcast, but the podcast version, we're going to get nerdy. Let's get nerdy,
That should be your theme.
If you know me,
try to catch me bright and nerdy. I'm not a nerd. It's funny when you and like
Vince,
some other like Vince,
we had Vince in another podcast
talk about branding. I'm just sitting there staring at you guys like, huh? What? Look, is it gonna get me the right leads? That's all I care about.
Yeah. Well, that's what's good is now
that's all I care about.
The more me and Vince talk, but then also talk with you, it's like, well, now we can communicate it better.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, the way that relationship works is I just bring the people to you.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I know it works, but
so
we talked about mindset, committing to winning at your business, right? Then number 2 is knowing your why and strengthening the foundation of those emotions that keep you going.
So what's your why?
What's my why? Well, I want to create experiences for my family. So there's a selfish why with my family. I want to create the experiences that I was never able to experience for my family and be able to provide the best for my kids so I can actually raise great adults. I don't want to give them everything and spoil them, but I want to raise great adults. So I want to leave a legacy. So I do not want to be working my butt off. I want to have the time and the freedom of money to be able to do those things and create experiences. But it goes deeper than that. That's a selfish, like, hey, it's
personal.
Yeah, it's personal.
Yeah.
But the second reason why I do business and why I do business is because I want to go back to those ghetto neighborhoods that I grew up in. And I don't care what skin color you are. We were all the same at that point, right? We were white, black, and brown, and we were just as broke, and that was our economy. It was broke. Nobody cared about the racism, right? And I want to go back there because I saw friends turn into drug dealers, turn into gang members. Some of them are dead now. A lot of them, obviously, I don't know where they're at. If somebody, when I was a young kid, came to our group and said, hey, let me teach you a skill. Let me teach you about business. I'm not saying it would have saved their lives, but they would have been able to see a different side of how to be able to make money with integrity. Because all we saw was the pimps, the drugs, the prostitution, and the killings. And that was kind of, and God really pulled me out of that. I never experienced that. Thank God I never made that decision. But if I stayed in longer or if I chose to have different mentors within those streets, it would have been a different story for me. I wouldn't have been here. So I want to be able to create a program that goes back into those places and creates business opportunities by teaching them plumbing, electrician, all those trades that are needed, and say, hey, look, kid, I know you're 10, and I know it's way beyond what, your age at the moment, but if you don't want to grow up like that, then here's an opportunity for you to make $100,000 to $200,000 a year as a plumber, as an electrician, as an HVAC technician. Let me teach you how to get there and get them that young. Because those kids are so infatuated with these people that seem like they have everything together, these thugs on the streets, money, power, control. And
what point do you need to get to start doing that? Or are you starting already?
That's going to start very soon.
Really?
Very, very soon. So right now I have 5 businesses, 5 streams of income. I'm looking to make 7. 2 of them are going to be directly associated to providing for that nonprofit.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then
so
we'll
that's
video
a deeper
it.
why. Yeah, that's a deeper why, and that's like the glorification of God in my life.
Yeah.
But I do believe that I glorify God by being successful, not in a cocky way, but because I'm also my goal is to help the entrepreneur become a better entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And if I'm teaching them how to do that, I also have to be that myself. So that's my why. What is your why?
Yeah, so I got the private why, which is not just to retire my wife, and not just to retire myself after that, but to be able to say yes and create more experiences as a family. So, like, that's just the biggest thing, because, you know, we're in a time a little bit right now. Sometimes we're like, no, let's not do that, or like, and sometimes it's money, sometimes it's time, like, so
sometimes it's both.
Sometimes both. So if I retire myself, like get a business to work without me, I can pick and choose when I want to show up and have fun. And then with my family too, we could be like, hey, let's right after school we're going here, or like, you know, doing something. So I want to. It's those freedoms, because you can work to live or live to work, you know. And like, for me, I just want to live.
Yeah.
And so that's the point.
Yeah. I remember I told my wife, I said, success to me is to be able to wake up on a Wednesday morning and say, what do you want to do? And she just started crying. She was like, yeah, I want that time. My wife just wants time with me. And I get that. Yeah. I also want to work with my wife. We're freaking awesome entrepreneurs together.
Didn't you fire each other 7 times?
And we rehired each other.
Am I not supposed to say that?
Oh, she knows. She'll probably be like, yeah, I'm the one that fired him. And I'm like, I'm the one that fired him.
Please make a comment.
If you're married and in business, just comment how many times you fired each other. And if you can't count, just put indefinitely or something like that. But knowing your why and strengthening that emotional foundation will help you to make that commitment to keep going. Yeah. But then kind of going down to business logic, right? Like we talked about this at Growth Club last Friday, which is you have to be able to go back to the mastery part of your business, which is understanding the vision that you have and just buying into it all over again, continuing to buy into that, right? Vision, mission, core values. Looking back at the plan and making sure you understand how your business needs to look when it's arrived and is giving you that lifestyle that you want. Org chart.
Org chart?
Oh, what do you mean?
Like when you write out like what you want it to look like, the end game, like what's the operation, like what do I need for this? How much are they going to cost? Like a vision board. Is it a vision board?
Yeah, you can have a vision board. You can write an org chart where you have like the business and then how many legs it has and stuff like that. But you have to write how much you're making, what each branch is bringing in, how much you're paying everybody, because it has to be based off of fact too.
It's good to get a bird's eye view and know where you're going.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I remember we did that for one of our sessions. That was fun.
And sometimes we have to do it all over again. Yeah. Like in a year. Well, next session we'll do it.
Okay, that sounds fun.
And then knowing that vision, mission, core values, making sure that your personal vision is influencing your business plan, your business goals. Because if you want that time and freedom to do X, Y, Z personally, your business has to know that or else it'll take over. You know. Then, time mastery, understanding how to direct and master your time. There's in the business work that you have to do, which if you're a plumber, you might have to go out there and be a plumber. If you're a videographer, you might have to shoot video and edit, right? A business coach, I might have to sit down and have coaching sessions. But then there needs to be time allocated to planning and growing your business. Networking, planning, learning, things like that.
Scaling yourself.
Yeah, scaling yourself. Also taking care of yourself. Going to the gym and eating right. Guys, come on. Like this is, when times are bad, this is the...
Can you eat right at the gym?
Can you eat right at the gym? What do you mean?
Like just go to the gym and eat right? Does that count? I went to the gym. I ate right.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole different podcast. But if you're a personal trainer, you wanted to comment on that. And if you're a nutrition coach, if you want to comment on that.
That would be fun, though.
Yeah. Having something like that on?
Like, yeah, someone like showing us something like personal physical, like to be able to showcase more on the video side. So, and we could record it as an audio podcast as well, like as they're showing us.
Dude, my Krav Maga instructor.
Oh, yeah, he would be fun.
Put him on there. He'd probably just stare at the camera and just break it because of how intense his look is.
And Joe would look cool. I'd look like a creative who's not very flexible.
But there's time mastery, and taking care of yourself is important. There's also money mastery. Like, you got to know your numbers. If you are guessing everything while times are good, trust me, your numbers will expose itself when things get a little slower. It's worth knowing your numbers. How much you have to sell your product or service for, and understanding all your variable and fixed expenses and your break-even number and your profit margins. Like, those are all super important.
I got a question now. So if someone's just starting out, like maybe they want to get in, I'm just going to use me, pretend I'm just starting out, like as a videographer. And we're talking about kind of setting prices. So would it be wise for that first person and kind of set a price based on having one client? Like, how do you base it? Is it based on having one client to have enough margin, or is it based on 4 or 5 clients? You know, because like technically you probably could like, oh, it's a 10,000 a month thing or something, and for the one client, and then you get them, but then you want to expand, and that would be hiring other people and building after that.
Yeah. Well, I think that in any business, and we'll just take videography for an example, you have to have an idea of what you're going to charge your clients. You have different packages, right?
Right.
But the tricky part, and I would say always start here, is when you start your business, you're going to automatically have monthly expenses that you have to pay for, no matter whether you sell a job or not, right? Like you need insurance. You need to either lease or buy equipment. You're going to need to probably hire an editor if you know you're not that skilled. So you kind of have to figure out monthly how much fixed is going to go out just to run my business. And let's say that's $5,000. Well, let's say you sell a job for $10,000 or $10,000 a month, and you have $5,000 going out. You have to make sure that after you sell the $10,000 job and whatever expenses associated to that goes out, there's enough left to at least pay that $5,000 a month. So let's just say that you only have your highest package is $2,000 a month. And you know, okay, great. I have $5,000 that goes out just to run the business. I want to pay myself $3,000, so that's $8,000. Right? And you have a 20% gross profit margin on everything that you sell. So how many jobs do you have to have monthly just to make sure you break even with your fixed expenses for your business and paying yourself $3,000? Like you have to know 4 to 5 clients, right? And so it's like, okay, great. If I have that, let me get to 4 to 5 clients at $2,000 a month as fast as possible. Right?
I got you.
It's like, and then from there, it's like, okay, great.
So you kind of have to decide.
Where are my prices? Am I at the right price, et cetera, et cetera? And then you could choose, hey, was it easy to get those 4 or 5 clients? Could they pay more? Am I priced right? Maybe do some market research and say, okay, cool. Let me go up to $2,500 a month for that same package. And you start marketing and branding that. And you get 5 more. Ooh, that's pretty easy,
Sweet.
Right? So like, then at that point, it's like, well, there's enough for me to get maybe a full-time editor. Because if I'm shooting and editing, at about 10 clients a month like that, you might be spreading yourself pretty thin.
Full-time editor, sales, and assistant. And then that's what I would want to do first. And then work on replacing myself after that. All the hats I'm wearing. So the videographer, the coaching part, and the, you know, the...
Yeah. But then we're gonna have fun doing your org chart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should almost video that.
We should. Like a time lapse.
Yeah.
I've been doing it. But yeah. And then the last part of just the foundational part is just going back to your delivery, how you're consistently delivering the service or product to your clients and making sure that you solidify that and create a freaking experience that your clients will never forget. Because it doesn't matter how bad the economy is, there's somebody that's willing to pay you for your value. You got to find it, and then when you do, you create an experience.
I'm amazed every time, because like I think that I think of myself highly enough in a way that I'm not like being, what do you call it, like negative towards myself, you know. But then when people see their videos, they're like, "Whoa," and I always exceed their expectations.
Right.
And I'm like, well, what'd you expect? I'm a professional. Like, that's part of what I'm thinking. But I'm like, dude, okay, that's awesome. I like hearing that. But I'm still somehow surprised.
Well, you know? I mean, I feel like, especially for people that are new to getting professional videos, I think it just blows them away to see, like, wow, there's a difference between when I just do it with my iPhone versus a professional.
Maybe like... Same thing as like if someone's house is getting remodeled or something.
Right.
Like they can kind of know what's going to happen, but then when they actually see it, it makes a difference. But they like, but you knew your value, right?
Yeah. Well,
but then
you know
are
who you should thank?
By them?
For all the sucky people out there.
Oh, yeah.
Because they make them go, wow, Jared, your stuff is great.
Thank you,
like
sucky people.
Yeah. That's amazing. Oh, man. Well, there's countless stories, including my own, of companies that have done so well during recessions.
Mm.
You know,
What about the personal side?
okay.
Like you're in a business, sole proprietor, so you can, move the money easier.
Right.
Pay yourself or not, and you're kind of like taken from the business because you got to buy groceries.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think I know what you're alluding to. Have a budget. That's money mastery.
But what if it's like, okay, this is set aside for this, but I can borrow from it.
From the business?
Yeah. Which knowing you're not going to pay back.
Yeah, that's a little hard. Yeah. Now, I have business partners, so it's easier to do that because now it's like I write a contract with these people. Like if I borrow, they borrow from the business. But we try to make that the last thing we have to do. I mean, we all fall on hard times, all of us.
Yeah.
Right? Like there are times my months are like, oh shoot, right? Like the businesses, but I know it's gonna come in the next month. And I'm running 5 businesses. Sometimes like boom, 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 right? Yeah. Have teams, all that kind of stuff. But there are times it's like, okay, right, my cash accounts are pretty low. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, first of all, have a personal budget, like a break-even budget. And pay yourself that. Bonus yourself on the profit that you make. If you do that, then you're less likely to take from your business when your personal side of things are suffering. But if you have to borrow from the business, have strict rules about paying it back with interest. Like I have a client who lives in Saudi and she has a physical thing that she sells in big box stores, right? Okay. I'm not going to say her name because I'm not sure if she wants me to say anything. But she buys product from a manufacturing factory overseas. It comes in, blah, blah, blah. So she needs to put a lot of money up front. And she had this idea. She had no loans, anything like that. So she borrowed 40 grand from herself. And I looked at her and I said, you're paying yourself back with interest, right? You would if you borrowed it from there or there or there. So, yeah.
Interesting. And now we're in this like, we don't have like a mortgage person on this podcast, and there's probably mortgage people listening, but so pardon me if I'm wrong on this, but it's hard to, like, we have volunteered on purpose to stay in an apartment for as long as possible, and also because we serve there and we like that's part of our thing, and we have this extreme situation where we should be in our apartment, it'd be stupid not to say no to it. But basically, it seems like based on like housing industry and mortgage and stuff that we shouldn't like, and this is what I mean by like recession kind of stuff.
Right.
Even though like the rates have kind of come down like 1%, it's like I've done the math now that I'm an entrepreneur, or at least business owner. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I have so many ideas.
Yeah.
I want to start things. But I've done the math and it's always like, oh, a $300,000 home seems kind of modest or whatever, but it's going to be a $3,000 a month mortgage.
Yeah.
Or $2,000, like something. And I bet I'm ballpark. And, but then with that, you do the math after that. It's like, oh, this isn't actually a $300,000 home then. This is like a $600,000 home.
Yeah.
Because of the mortgage part.
Right.
If you calculate the interest you're paying to them.
Right.
Depending on how long it is and stuff. Like, and so like my solution is more income. And that's what I love about having a business.
Right.
Is I can, it's on me to just give myself a raise by getting more clients.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so, if you're getting the clients, are you paying yourself like the salesperson? Are you giving yourself a commission? Oh,
I gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. There's many ways you can implement it in there. There's a book called Profit First. And it talks about the concept of paying yourself first, even if it's a 1% on the profit. We as entrepreneurs love to sacrifice ourselves just for the business. And at the end of the day, you're going to get burnt out if you do that. You have to learn how to pay yourself first.
Yeah.
You're the most important person to the business. And this is controversial. There's going to be a lot of entrepreneurs like, no, you can't. Well, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, whatever. If you don't want to do that, that's fine. But for those of you who want to try that, dude, pay yourself 0.5% of your profit. Or everything that comes in, give yourself 1%. Put it away in a profit account and give it to you at the end of every quarter. You'll be surprised of what you could do if you just put your mind to it. For those of you who don't believe me, then don't do it. You're not going to have that's fine. I'm not here to argue or not, but I'm just saying, like, I do this all the time. I put 1 or 2% away just for off of every sale.
Would you, like, as a sole proprietor before you change and you're the single member LLC, would you have like a line for business profit?
A line?
Like a budget, like a percentage of every revenue that comes in is for business profit that doesn't get paid out. It's just for the business to profit, you know?
And
be able
like
to use
savings
that.
account
Yeah. And then you have your own personal that you need to pay yourself.
Yeah, you could definitely do that. There's a book out there called Profit First. Have you ever read that book?
I should read this.
Yeah. Well, it talks about that. And this works for me. Accountants and bookkeepers that I've met, a lot of them don't like it because it's like a lot of accounts. But if I see $100,000 in my bank account, I find 100,000 different ways to spend $1, right? But if there's only a certain amount of my account that's dedicated for a certain thing, then I behave with it. So we went as far as having a bank account for money to come in, then we transferred it over to our operating expense. That was for all the things that we had to pay to operate the business. Then we had a payroll, materials, and the idea was every time money came in, it got split up. It got split up to all the different, things, and we actually saved money. So if you have to go to an extreme like that, then do it. You know, if you have an accountant or a bookkeeper that can keep all the logs, you're just having a lot of meetings with them, so they might charge you for that. But do whatever the heck you have to do. Your business needs to give you life. It needs to give life back to you. And if it's sucking it all out because you can't handle the money, then you have a moral obligation to fix that or to find a solution. You find solutions for everybody else. Find a freaking solution for the problem that you're having in your business. Right?
Why is it that the natural thing to, like, whatever industry you're in, it's harder to do it for yourself? Is that a lack of value on yourself thing, or is it the self-awareness side? Is it?
I don't know.
Is it
but
just
there's a
natural
lot of landscapers that do a great job, and their landscape looks like trash, metaphorically, right? Like, well,
like a therapist going through a divorce.
Used to clean air duct. I used to be an air duct cleaner in San Diego. Had a business, and I never cleaned my own air ducts. So I don't. I think it's just one of those things like you don't see the value, like you don't see that there's physical money coming from doing it for you. And I had to really get out of that junk thought. Like I'm a business coach. I make people look at their money and their numbers. I have to look at mine. I have to.
Yeah.
So
I put that in my default calendar.
Yeah, look at your money.
Yeah.
Look at the money.
I don't think I have a choice not to look at it. So I end up naturally going to it anyways.
Well, if you know your numbers, you can make the right decisions. And sometimes the decision is make more freaking money. Like get out there.
My bank integrates with Slack, so I'm like getting notified every time something happens. Like it's been debited it's been like, and I just kind of like it. Just go, oh yeah, just to know. Because there's so many automatic things. It's like, what was that? What was this?
Yep.
So
yeah, true.
Dude, gear shift, ready?
Go ahead.
I was watching on TikTok, and there's this guy that goes up to these people with like nice cars, and they look like they're wearing a.
He says, "What do you do for a living?"
Yeah, and he does a speed interview, and sometimes he gets told no and stuff, but then most of the time it's very interesting. And what I like about it is because you're hearing from different people.
Yeah,
and some people there's a common thread, and then some people it's like, whoa, okay, well I'm glad that worked for you.
Yeah,
but definitely like that kind of content's really fun to watch.
There was a guy that he interviewed. You wouldn't even think that he was a millionaire. He sold suits to men. Really nice suits, apparently.
Okay. Yeah.
But hey.
Well, most of those people, too, they would be like, or sometimes he'd be like, hey, have you ever been poor? And
a lot of them say yes over and over again.
A lot of them say, I've never been poor, but I've been broke. Like a little bit of the mind shift thing.
I think poor is a mindset. Broke is, there's no money, but there will be, right?
Yeah.
So, anyways. Hey, guys, did you like this podcast? If you really, really did, if you're watching it on YouTube, could you do us a huge favor? Subscribe. Hit the bell to get notified when there's a new episode coming up. And can you please share it? Like, as an entrepreneur, we owe it to ourselves to watch the content and take action on the things that we know need to take action. But if there's another entrepreneur in your life or several that could benefit from this podcast, please, please, please share it. We'd really appreciate it.
Yes, much obliged.
Much obliged. But look, guys, take what we got, figure out what action steps you got to give yourself, and I just hope that you stay strong.
And keep on keeping on.